We are at October 14th. October 14th, and that's enough for that. Except this guy. This guy right here gets one. That's all you get. Well, maybe I got two. That'll be down the road. So what we have today is a live on, well, you can plant any seed. Thumbnail. You can plant any seed. Sun's going down a lot faster now. If you recall, at 5 o'clock, the sun didn't come down for a half hour. Now at 5 o'clock, a little after 5, the sun is already coming down. So we're already getting darker in our time realm of coming into winter. Okay, we got, I'll take these off. I'll probably need them in a minute. I'll put them in my plants. Maybe I'll grow another pair of sunglasses. I need another pair. What we got here? Hey, YTTG Gaming official. 9090, I believe. Welcome. And anyone else that's coming in late that hasn't pushed the button to be seen as going on live, that's fine. So the thumbnail is you can plant any seed. Seeds come in many different dimensions. First of all, I had mentioned in the past that one thought, just one thought, they have it now on a machine. When you have just one thought, it takes 1/1,000,000th of a spark of electricity to make that thought possible, which means we humans are electrical beings. That's right, we're electrical beings. The right side we have positive, the left side we have negative. And that's what makes the flow of the blood go through our heart. It's the way it works. So we are a battery. Depending on how much you incorporate what you're thinking, depends on how charged you will be. Now, you look at people and you say, that guy looks like he's a light bulb. That guy looks like, I don't see any light, but there's some spark in the eye. And that's when you look at those people and see that little spark and recognize it, and that spark gets bigger. And that's the way it works. Recognition. Everyone wants to be recognized. They want to be recognized to the extent that they will become sick just to be recognized. That will be another story, but this is truth that I'm giving you. Some gems you can put on the back shelf. This guy's back again. You know what? I think he's burying them. There's no way he ate that rawhide so quickly. So, what do we got? What do we got for you, buddy boy? Well, we got a pocket full of nothing. Oh, we got a little cookie. A little cookie. I think you might eat that one. I don't know. Hey, Vinny. I was tickling my brother's little feet, and my mom said, wait until he's born. Vinny, this is off topic. My topic is thumbnail. You can plant any seed. But, Vinny, you've hit upon a nerve of Uncle Martin. I remember, God's truth here, I remember when I was 22 months old. Well, 22 months of experience. There is no old or young. More experience, less experience. I had less experience. I was 22 months of experience. And my brother was put in my crib. Now you're saying you're tickling your brother's feet. This is too funny. No, you can't have it anymore. No more for you. He's nudging me, but yeah, he'll get one later. So, mom, mom puts bro into my crib, and I kind of remember my dad said he doesn't care if it's a boy or girl. I'm going to share my crib. I think I agreed. I don't remember that, but I know the kid, my brother, went into my crib. All right, and hey, BPX, checking in. I'll watch tomorrow morning. Fantastic. That's when I get credit tomorrow morning, about 6 a.m. Because something about everybody watching now, I don't get any credit until the next day. So you can stop now and watch tomorrow if you want, or stay with the live. Vinny, I don't know if I've seen you before, but this is a fantastic question here. You're tickling your brother's little feet, and your mom said wait until he's born. Well, that's what I'm saying. When mom called me over to the blue couch and she said, put my hands on her stomach, she was saying, oh, here, out. She was going into labor. And then when I said, when I put my hand on her tummy, bro gave me a punch through mom's tummy on my right hand. Then I put it on my left hand on it, and he gave me another punch. And then I said, Mom, what's inside? Mom, what have you been eating? And she says, no, it's your little brother. And then Dad said, oh, it could be your little sister. And I screamed out, I want a sister. And then I had my hands on mom's tummy, and it was a boom on the right, boom on the left, like the punches, right, left, and then 2 kicks on the bottom, boom, boom. I had 4 booms going on in mom's tummy. When I screamed out, I want a sister, I got a brother, but that's what I'm saying. Okay, BXP, jam out on your music. Hopefully it goes with the 3/4 heartbeat of your heart. Yeah. So now Dad said he doesn't care if it's a brother or a sister. I want you to accept this child in your crib. I think I said okay, but I forgot about it because Mom went into labor for 3 days. Nobody goes into labor for 3 days anymore. Know why? Because they do C-sections. But Mom, because it puts too much pressure on the kid's head and all this other stuff. They didn't know that back then in the 50s. So bro comes out 3 days later into my crib, and that's what I'm saying. I climbed, I got across the floor faster than they've ever seen me before. I climbed up my crib. I was a climber, and to this day. I got into my crib, and I grabbed my brother's back of his feet, and I pulled him to my face, and I started munching on his toes like corn on the cob. Hey, corn on the cob, put that on the back shelf. That's what this whole thing is about. This is fantastic. You can plant any seed is the thumbnail. So I'm biting into his toes, and they were very gelatinous. It was only a day, barely a day old. He's coming home. And Mom and Dad shot over to the crib, make sure bro wasn't getting eaten or something. And then I saw my parents, and I said, oh, not only that, in my mind I said, I'm biting in my teeth into the kid's toes. And the nails were very gelatinous. They were like, not jello, but there was not much more. I mean, it was, and I knew in my mind at that time that if I chomped down anymore, I'd do my brother harm. So what I did was I started gumming his toes, and he starts laughing and giggling at 1 year old. I mean, 1 day old. I was giving my brother reflexology on his feet on his first day home. My point being, when scientists to this day say, kids, you kids out there, anybody's watching, they say you got until 5 years old before you have a conscious awareness of what is right and what is wrong, what's positive and negative. That's a lie. That's another lie we have. I knew at 22 months old that if I kept biting, if I bit into my brother's toes with all my teeth, I would do him harm. So at 22 months old, I knew that I was doing something negative. That's all I want to say about that. Okay? So getting back to the thumbnail is you can plant any seed, all right? Now, we're going to 3rd grade, my first 3rd grade. I went to 2 3rd grades. I went to 4 4th grades. I went to 2 5th grades. I went to 20 schools, but I'm not even adding those up in my schools. I'm just saying I went to a lot of schools and this is a scenario of when I was 8 years of experience. Now, first, second, and third grade, I was in a Catholic school up in Flagstaff, Arizona. Now I give the nuns a hard time. First, second, and third. Well, first, second grade, and I guess third grade too. I gave them a hard time. The nuns. I wasn't trying to. It was just that they given me stuff, and I had to ask questions, and they weren't happy with my questions. They were flipping out on me all the time. Well, this isn't kind of another occasion, I guess. So this is the scenario. I'm sitting. I'm 8 years of experience sitting in front of the nun's desk. Why is that? Because I had a rep for being by the window, looking out the window rather than listening to what they had to say. So I was immediately pulled over in front of their desk. Well, I guess it happens when kids aren't listening to their teacher. So it's on my, just before my third report card. Report cards are very important, by the way. Just put that on the back shelf. We have not had the third report card yet, so we're coming into school. I'm sitting in front of Sister's desk, on my desk, and in front is a cup, a styrofoam cup, 3/4 full of dirt. Just dirt in a styrofoam cup. No holes on the bottom, by the way. So, Sister says, today is going to be something different. And I thought, what? We're going to eat some dirt? I mean, I was thinking about it. I never said it. So she says, no, we got this bag. I got this bag. Is it like a lunch bag or brown bag? She says, I've got seeds in this bag. And I've got seeds for you to plant. One seed. I have you to plant in this bag. And I'm going to put it, and behind us was a round table. And she, by the way, remember, this nun said, you can plant any seed. Hey, that's good enough for me. I want to plant corn. That's immediately what I thought in my head. She goes over to the round table. She throws all these, it was a ton of seeds. I mean, it was our choice on what we wanted to plant. It was over like a dozen seeds. And all the kids are running over there and ripping them open, and they're picking this and that. And I casually walked over and I looked and read the packets and said, well, to myself, I said, I don't see any corn. So I mentioned to Sister, I said, Sister, I want to plant corn. And she said, no, we don't have any corn here. You're going to plant whatever seed you want to pick out of these packets. And that's what I'm saying. I remember nuns talking about literal things out of the Bible, and literal things all the time. Whatever they said was literal. And I said to her, but Sister, you said you can plant any seed. I don't see corn. And she was a little amazed that I remembered that statement. And she said, well, we have no corn, but if you want to go home and find some seeds of corn, you can. But when you come back tomorrow, there better be a seed of corn in your cup, or I will pick a seed for you. You will not get to pick the seed. I will pick it. And I said, okay, no problem. Trying to scare me? Forget about it. I've been through fear before. I've gone into that. So I go home. I tell Mom about the story. I said, Mom, I got this cup. I got to put corn in it. Where can I get corn? She says, well, wait till your father comes home. So this is like in the afternoon. Dad comes home at like 5. We're sitting at dinner. I said, Dad, I got this cup of dirt. I got to put a seed of corn in there. And he says, no, well, after 5 now and the stores are closed. I said, no, the store is still open, and I know there was a corn bin over there. I want to get corn. And both Mom and Dad said, no, you can't get a husk of corn. It has to be dried out. It has to be a dried seed to put in your dirt. And there's nothing open right now to buy corn seeds. So I said, okay. All right. I was not done with this because in my mind I knew we had Jiffy Pop up in the top cupboard where you couldn't go because it was on the top cupboard. Cookies and Jiffy Pop, all the stuff that kids aren't supposed to have are usually on the top cupboard. And so I said, okay, fine. In my mind, I said, I'm going to get into Jiffy Pop. Now, what happened was after dinner, after dessert, I think Huckleberry Hound was coming on. Dad and Bro was watching. Yeah, I think even Mom was watching it. Huckleberry Hound, remember that? Yogi Bear and Boo Boo. Hey, Boo Boo. And then there was Pixie and Dixie, and then there was Jinxie, little Jinxie, the cat that was always giving Pixie and Dixie a hard time. Yeah, look it up. Huckleberry Hound, fantastic cartoons. They don't make them like that anymore. So I went into the kitchen. I got the stool. Maybe it was the chair. I guess it was the kitchen chair. It was very high up. So I went and got the Jiffy Pop. By the way, I was in doing the dishes with Mom. I was drying them, and I said, "Mom, I got Jiffy Pop up there. Why can't I use this kernel? Just one kernel." She says, "No, you can't break into it because if you do, it will not be the same when you try to do Jiffy Pop." And I said, "Yeah, but I just need one kernel corn." She says, "No, you can't do it because first of all, Jiffy Pop is it's heat. There's a heat sterilization on those seeds. So heat sterilization kills to where you'll never be able to plant that seed to have anything grow." I said, "Well, okay, Mom." I didn't believe her. I had an intent, and that was to get a kernel of Jiffy Pop corn. She goes in and watches the cartoons. I get the chair, I get up there, get the Jiffy Pop. I got one of her sewing needles. I opened it up just a little bit. And when I popped it out, there was three kernels that came out. Now I should have let it go because I just had a little slit, very small slit. But me trying to put the other two kernels back in, I ripped it more. And what are you going to do when it rips more? Well, I got some tin foil, put it over the top. When's the next time we're going to ever have Jiffy Pop? When are we going to have Jiffy Pop again? Probably months from now, I'm thinking. So as I put it back up there, I felt something. It was little Bro. I think he had his head around the corner because he heard the whole story anyway. So I immediately got the one kernel that I did have. I put it in my cup and I put it aside. Now, Bro is screaming, "Let's have Jiffy Pop!" And Dad says, "Hey, I think that's very positive." So Mom comes in to get the Jiffy Pop. She sees what I did, but she didn't say anything. She didn't spill the beans. She just said, "Oh boy, I told you not to do it." I said, "Mom, I had to." So we're doing the Jiffy Pop, Jiffy Pop, Jiffy Pop, and it's popping up. Maybe only half popping. You know how it blows up really high? It didn't do that. It just was a little low. And then there was stuff burning. And Dad's screaming now, "Who's burning the Jiffy Pop?" So we had to put it aside. So we had half a thing of Jiffy Pop. Now, Dad comes in, finds out that I disobeyed my mother. I'm going to get a black belt. Okay, when you disappear, well, at that time period, when you disobeyed your parents, a lot of kids got black belts. I know you don't get a black belt now because kids don't get hit. Don't go. From what I understand, kids don't even, they get away with a lot of stuff. So I immediately, when Dad said, he came in and smelled he saw what I did. I immediately ran and got my cup. And then I came out with my cup, with my two hands around my cup. And I said, "I just had to plant one seed." And they both busted up laughing, which is fantastic. That means I wasn't going to get a black belt. And then, well, they did eat the popcorn. Bro, Mom, and Dad got the top part. I didn't. I got the brown, the crispier part of the popcorn. I wasn't going to eat any of the burnt stuff on the bottom, but the brown, I kind of liked it. You know, I've acquired a taste for brown popcorn now. So maybe it was back then that it doesn't bother me to have a little more crispy popcorn. So I go to school with my cup with one kernel of Jiffy Pop. Now, I go into school, everybody's waiting. They're waiting to see what Uncle Martin has in his cup. And Sister says, "What do you have?" I said, "I got a kernel of corn." And she says, "Where'd you get it?" I said, well, I got it at a Jiffy Pop. Everybody busts up laughing. All the kids, sister, everybody's laughing that I put one kernel of Jiffy Popcorn in my cup. And they all told me the same thing Mom did, that it was heat treated, sterilization. There's no way it'll ever grow. And even sister said, hey, you can now pick any seed you want. At least you went to you tried. I said, no, I'm going to water this seed. I've got faith. She said, fine. Everybody had a seed in their cup. Now we take it home for like 2 weeks. 14 days. And we're supposed to bring it back. Okay, so everybody's laughing how I'm not going to... I think it was like 3 to 7 days, I start getting something coming out of my cup. It's corn. By 14 days, I've got 9 inches of a corn stalk coming out of my cup. So when I come back to school and I got this corn stalk coming out, everybody's saying, oh, this must be a miracle. Sister even looked at it. And by the way, they made my first grade nun made me St. Martin. And by the way, St. Martin is black. Not that it has anything to do with anything, but that was my first experience of prejudice, which I've gone into with, I think it's Prejudice in the Rope. It was a live I did, Prejudice in the Rope. You might want to check that out. It's how on that same day that I understood prejudice, and I got a rope in the middle of my ceiling. If you have time, check it out. Prejudice and the Rope. So now I'm coming back in there saying, it's a miracle. It's a miracle. And sister saying, I don't believe it. And I said, well, yeah, there it is. 9 inches coming out of my cup. So they were always calling me not Uncle Martin. They were calling me Saint Martin because of that stupid thing that the nun did to me in first grade, because I went to first, second, and third grade. I was known as St. Martin. Now, St. Martin was a fantastic saint, by the way. I will have an episode on St. Martin, on all the things that he did. They were pretty remarkable. And yes, he was black, but who cares? So, if I had any sense about me at 8 years of experience, I would have told the nun. You know what I would have told her? I don't want no stinking corn. You don't have any. You can plant any seed. You said. I should have said, I want to plant a mustard seed. That would have done it in for her. Because how do you find a mustard seed? But as we look into it, even biblically, faith. If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, and how big is a mustard seed? Well, a mustard seed is 1 to 2 milliliters in diameter. And that 1 to 2 millimeters in diameter, that seed will grow from 8 to 10 feet tall. Yeah, that's pretty big for just a small seed. And the concept was, it would illustrate that even a little bit of true faith can lead to overcoming massive obstacles. And I believe it was Jesus that said in Matthew 17:20, yes, Matthew 17:20, I kind of remember that one, to where if you had enough faith, you can take one mountain and move it to the other with just a little bit of faith. As much as of a mustard seed was the concept. Now, if we had that power to do a mountain from one place to the other, we had that power, that ability, we would not do it. That would be the other esoteric law, I'm sure that you would understand or not. Now, the concept was, why did Matthew of 17:20, that phrase from Jesus say that? It was because the disciples, they had a failure to cast out demons. and they had a lack of faith. So he was trying to get across from them that just with as much as faith of a mustard seed, you could do a lot of things. And that is so true. We all don't recognize our capabilities of what we could do. Hey, Kendi Mohammed, hello from Morocco. Hey, Morocco, I think you're like 10 hours away, if I'm not mistaken. Morocco. Yeah, I think you're like 10 months. I think you must be an early riser, huh? Watching Uncle Martin? All right. Well, I do have somebody looking. This is all he gets. This is a tough rawhide. There's no way he can chew it up all and come back to me. There's no way unless he buries it. Would you bury this? Yeah, I'm sure he will. So the thumbnail is you can plant any seed. Now there's many dimensions, many levels. Hey, Jedi Mohammed, nice dog. Yeah, he's a nice dog. His name is Lightning. He's a rescue. I love the guy. By the way, Skippy's inside. He's not feeling very well. I'm trying to cure him on my own way. He hasn't eaten for 3 days, but I have hopes that he's going to kick through it. And if he doesn't start eating soon, I'll bring him to the doctor. But I got to do what I got to do. I'll keep you informed. So you can plant any seed. Any seed means on any dimension, any level. Now I was talking about the corn that I was planting in a cup, but our thoughts have to do with seeds. Every thought we have is a seed. Even the ancients said seeds of thought are like grapes. The cluster of grapes. And we have many clusters of grapes in our mind that we have thought of, that we've reconstituted thought after thought, and we bring things on our own selves when it is either positive or negative. And this is very important to understand because scientifically we know it takes 1/1,000,000th of a spark of electricity to make any thought. So what are you charging your thoughts with? Obviously electricity to make them. And then from there, what are your thoughts? Are they positive or are they negative? So you might look at it as corn being positive, something, or wheat, something that grows. And the negative side would be weeds. Well, some weeds you can eat, like dandelion root and all that, but there's other people that eat other kind of weeds. But weeds normally are not positive. So we have positive thoughts, negative thoughts. We choose on what we think, what our desires are. And when we start thinking things, and then we start desiring things, desiring is emotions. Our subconscious has emotions. And through our emotions and thought, depending on what kind of emotions you have, that's where things start going in a more rapid direction. If you just think of something, that's fine. But if you're thinking of something with a lot of emotion, it happens much quicker. Okay? That's all I'm going to say about that right now, because what you give out, you get back tenfold. And yes, it is karma, but karma is a Sanskrit word which means action. So by thinking, you do action. And by thinking and action, what emotions do you have toward it is what you're going to get back very quickly. Rather than just daydreaming, but even daydreaming can, no matter what, imagination, that's what I'm saying. Imagination is so important. Imagination is through thought. And as we well know or not, even Einstein had 4% of he was using 4% of his brain. We're using 3%. He used 4% and he was a genius, all right? So, if that is the case, why do we Google and say how much of the brain is mankind using and they say 10%? There's no way in heck. I knew about these facts in 6th, 7th, in ninth grade back in the 60s and 70s that we only use 3% of our brain. Now, somehow, if Einstein was only using 4% of his brain, he's a genius. We've got 96, I'm giving it a go, 96% of unused brain. We have been limited since we've been born. We have capacities that we don't even realize. And that's what I'm going to be talking about down the road. We have capabilities that we can do things that nobody's telling us. I mean, I've done some things even, and well, that'll be another story. I'm just saying, not only me, but a lot of people have been able to do things that is, well, unexplainable, I suppose, as far as our science goes, as far as the five senses. You know, what you can see, what you can smell, what you can taste, what you can hear, and what you can touch. Those are the five senses. That's what our scientists are dealing with right now, just the five senses. Forget about being an empath or astral travel or telepathy. Yeah, you can't prove that. You can't put your finger on it. Well, that's where faith comes in. The faith that you know you can do these things, first of all. And a lot of people don't have any faith because they're dealing with the five senses. And when you deal with the five senses, you got to be able to touch something. You're sort of like a doubting Thomas. If you remember that little story, doesn't believe anything until he touch and feel. So what we have is a misunderstanding of our capabilities because we've been limited since we were born. And we've got a lot of false history that is not even true. It's been tainted, all right? Hey, Kadai, Muhammad. Yes, humans don't use all their brains. No, they don't use their brains. A lot of people don't even use their... Well, we use our mind, we use our brains, but not many people use their heart. The heart is where it comes from. Now, I have had this discussion with my brother over the years, and he always said, he went to the third eye. It's the third eye. It's the mind. It's the thought. And I said, no, it's the heart. It's the heart. You know why? Because the head is limiting. There's a loud voice in the mind, very loud, and it's not very always true. But the soft, silent voice that's in the heart is always true, and it will always steer you correctly. Actually, they do know scientifically, I believe, since 1995, dyslexia. Just look it up. When did they discover that the heart has memory? It has the neurons, electrons within the heart to actually have memory. The heart has memory, over 40,000 neurons in the heart. So the brain has like millions of neurons. So we got a lot louder up in the mind, brain and mind. Two different things. So our mind is very loud. Our heart is very soft, spoken. We have to quiet our mind to listen to our heart, is what it comes down to. And once you listen to your heart, it will never, ever, ever let you go astray. When it says, let's say you broke your glasses and the rims were broken and you're going to throw them away. And the little heart says, no, don't throw them away, put them aside. And you do. Or it says, and then you find out later down the road, like maybe the next day, you lost your glasses. You have nothing to see with. I got 100 proof. That's why I'm able to read what you guys got right now. So I got 100 proof on these spectacles. Now, I just found these today, but I almost had to use the ones that had a broken rim to it. But I found these, and the broken rim would have saved me for being able to read what I had to read. I listened to the little voice, so I was almost ready to use it, but I didn't have to. Also, if you're, just getting up, the little voice says, hey, grab an umbrella. And you look out, and there's not a cloud in the sky. That's ridiculous. but still you grab the umbrella. By the time you come home to work, it's a downpour and you would have been drenched. That kind of stuff. Or you get on your motorcycle, put on your gloves. Put on my gloves? That's ridiculous. It's middle of July. Why would I want to get on my motorcycle with my gloves on? Yeah, but you do. And then you go around a corner, 90-degree turn, and there's wet leaves, and you drop your bike, maybe only 15 miles an hour, like I did. And I put my hands out, and all the bottom of my gloves were gone. I just saw the top had gloves part, the bottom had just my hand, but they were untouched because all the leather had been taken off on the fall that I took. There's different little voices, the small ones from your heart you have to listen to, is what I'm saying. It's very important. Some of you know what I'm talking about, some of you don't, because maybe things are screaming too loud in your head. But when you quiet yourself a little bit, the heart will always be able to talk to you. That was the story today. Kind of a moral here, right? You can plant any seed. So in this little scenario, I wanted to plant corn, and even though I planted a Jiffy popcorn, I was able to have it grow 9 inches. And that was the other part that I almost forgot about. My subconscious just let me know. Subconscious has all the information. My subconscious just told me, don't forget to tell them about my report card comes up on my first third grade. Now, Dad says, I've just graduated from NAU. I've got my bachelor's in teaching and majored in psychology. I'm gonna go. We gotta go. We gotta go to New Jersey. I'm gonna go teach there. I said, Dad, I got this cup of corn it's 9 inches high, and I don't feel safe with giving it to Sister because it's about time to be transplanted. I want to transplant it outside. And he says, nope, we can't transplant it because we're moving. You got to give it to Sister. She took it, but I don't know if she transplanted it. I don't know. I would hope she did. So I'm done with my first third grade, going back to New Jersey, 2,500 miles, to go to Raritan, New Jersey, where I finished up for another report card in St. Joseph's, Raritan, New Jersey. Now, we were living in Pluckerman, New Jersey at that time, but then we got out of Grandpa's 5-acre chicken farm, finally moved back into Raritan, New Jersey, where I became then my first fourth grade out of my 4 fourth grades. We're going to pick up on this. Today is Tuesday. I got to work Wednesday, Thursday, probably Friday, Saturday. In 3 days, we will pick up from here on. The topic will be, I'm giving you the thumbnail ahead of time, that it will be on prejudice. Another part of prejudice. See, that's what I'm saying. In this my first third grade, the sister, before we even got to the seed, you can plant any seed, she was giving us history. And history has been tainted. I think this is pretty true because I looked it up. The Moors did come over, I think in 900 whatever. And for like a couple hundred years, the Moors, they this is fantastic because when I pick this, I'm sorry, it's not funny, but I'm thinking about it. The way she was screaming it at me, you know how you remember things when people are screaming things at you when you have less experience. Why are their veins sticking out and screaming at you like this? So she says, she gave us a time period, 900 to 700, whatever. It was like a couple hundred years that the Moors came over into Italy. The Moors came over to Italy, and they took over Italy. The Moors took over Italy, and she's looking at me, you know, because I had an Italian last name. And then the little Viking chick next to me says, because Now I've been asking questions, and they it's like a thing of they got to ask questions, and the little Viking chick, she was a twin. The other one liked me more than her, but she says, "Sister, what's a Moor?" And sister said, "The Moors are black." All right, so I was already St. Martin in my first grade when sister made me St. Martin, who was black. Now she's screaming at me that the Moors are black. And she's looking at me, the Italians. And I'm thinking, this feels negative. So that's where I'm going to pick up from. Next time I see you guys, it'll be on Prejudice, the Moors. Okay? Stay tuned. I got to go. Sun's coming down. Got to feed the cats, animals, and all the guys. Got to see how Skippy's doing inside. He hasn't been eating. I got to make sure he's doing okay. So until we see each other again, please give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs down. I don't care. I am concerned. And if you would like to subscribe, that's entirely up to you. And if you don't feel this is anything for you to describe or subscribe to, I got like, I think over 600 now. Might be more. I haven't kept track. Over 600 videos. You can just go back and look. Just eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Pick one and see if Uncle Martin has something that might. In fact, that's what I'm saying. Let the angels take you by the hand to pick the next video you're going to watch from Uncle Martin. And then after that, if you don't subscribe, well, guess you just have more things to learn. It doesn't matter to me. It's just something brings us up the ladder. I know one thing. You got to watch. I didn't know it was really a lot of views of time frame. Because you got to need 4,000 hours. I think I'm at like 300 hours or something like that. So I got a lot more people to watch a little longer. That's all. So until I see you, I'm going to say Saturday, but be alert. If you're a subscriber, you'll be able to know if it's before Saturday. Okay. Otherwise, again, thumbs up or down. Till then, be well. God victory. Come on. Push that button.